What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Now, Bitcoin has had a nice bounce back, getting back into the $44,000 level. However, as you can see right here, we are in fact seeing some resistance at these critical levels. Now, overall, you can actually see right here that the total crypto market cap is once again back over $2 trillion. So it is looking quite nice in the short term. However, there is a fractal that has been circulating around the internet right now, which is pretty scary looking, and it's something that happened in 2018, and it looks exactly like what is happening right now. And you can see that essentially we did have this fake out, but then it was ultimately just a bull trap and we continued to the downside. So is this something that we could be looking to have right now, and should we be extremely cautious? Well, I'm going to give my opinion on that fractal spreading around right now. I'll let you know the key differences between when that actually happened in 2018 versus what's happening right now. But something even crazier outside of just the short-term technicals is what is happening globally right now. And I'm going to tell you why the US could actually start massively accelerating its Bitcoin and cryptocurrency adoption amid what many are calling a potential global arms race. Okay? Pretty crazy, right? Sounds pretty crazy. So that's what we're going to talk about today, if that sounds good to you. If you are not subscribed, definitely consider it. And of course, if you are looking to trade these patterns, I will let you know what I'm looking at short term. So let's dive in and let's have a look at what we are having right now. So as you guys can see right here, if we have a clear look at this chart, you could see that essentially we are in fact hitting this critical resistance right here. Now, I spoke about this, and this is a very important level. In fact, you can actually see that we're bouncing between both the resistance and support. So, how long can Bitcoin actually continue to do this? Well, as a lot of people have pointed out, but I will show you in case you're unaware of this, is the fact that we have put in a bit of a head and shoulders pattern, right? So you have the head right here, then you have the one shoulder, and you have the other shoulder. Now, this is an inverse head and shoulder pattern. So essentially, once you break this neckline right here, that would mean that you would essentially pump the distance from the neckline to the top of the head. And the head is inverted in this case. So if we actually put that, I did not mean to do that, I meant to take this. If we actually move this right here, at the breakout point, that actually gives us a target of around $57,200. Now, keep in mind, we have a lot of resistance right here around that $52,000 level. Now, let me just take away everything right here and just have a quick look again at what we have. So if you have a look at this pattern right here, you could see, we had a bit of a double top. Then we had this prolonged downtrend, which we finally did break out of, and we put in an inverse head and shoulders, which does say that we could be potentially going up to that level. Now, if we look at what Crypto Bullet had actually pointed out in this this tweet that he put out yesterday, you could see something very similar that happened in 2018. And it's been playing out almost exactly to a T. Now, fractals are something that you can use to kind of guess where the price might be going, but obviously past performance doesn't usually play out the same, although you do have to admit this is pretty incredible. So he overlaid this on top of this, and you can see we have the two peak tops right here, then we have the downtrend, then we put in this inverse head and shoulders, and then back in 2018, essentially what we did right here, you can see we did have the breakout, but as soon as we hit that level, it fell and essentially came all the way back down to the previous levels before we broke out. And actually, if you're even familiar with what happened at that point, I will go back to that point in history right here. Essentially, this is where he was talking about, right here where we had the double peak, we had the inverted head and shoulders, the pump. Well, actually, things got very, very ugly after that. Now, there are some key differences we need to pay attention to. Now, when this actually did happen in 2018, okay, as we can see right here, we were in a major downtrend after putting in a blow off top, right? We just kept putting in lower highs, lower lows, lower lows, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. I think you get the point, right? It was a very different market. And secondly, you can also see that we were sitting below the 200, below the 100, and below the 50 daily moving average. And not to mention the fact that they had the death cross a few months prior to that move. Now, let's fast forward to today and see what we have going on right now. Is there anything different between those trends? Well, we have been putting in lower highs and lower lows, but that's only on the fractal itself. If we actually zoom out and we look at the macro, we are actually putting in higher lows, okay, and higher highs. So this overall trend is going to the upside, showing that we are in fact progressing, although maybe not as fast as some people would like, to the upside. Now, this has taken us over a year of consolidation. The other thing to note is, yes, we are in fact below the 100 and the 200, so you can say that that was similar, but we have had a massive bounce right here off of the 50 daily moving average. You can see as soon as we came down to this, look, we broke above it, bounce, 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 bounce. Okay, so we are seeing support, and we are seeing the death cross only moments just before we had it, just a few days ago, and we could see that this actually acts exactly in confluence with what we had back here. Look at this line right here, look at this level, look at what these moving averages are doing, and tell me that they're not doing the exact same thing. You have the cross right here, you have the cross right here. You have the 50 moving below here. You have the 50 moving below here. You have us breaking above the 50, and you have a bounce. You have us breaking above the 50, and we're actually having a bounce off of the 50. So not exactly the same, but honestly, they are very different charts. So although we are having a very similar fractal, I don't know necessarily that I would freak out. I do want to give a shout out to Crypto Bullet though. Awesome eye. This is really crazy that he saw this. So I'm not saying it can or can't happen. Awesome analysis, my friend. But what I am saying is that the circumstances are very, very different. Whereas the first time that we had this, we were already down tremendously off of a massive blow off top with the overall trend putting in lower highs and lower lows. Whereas right now, we've actually been on the macro on a monthly, putting in on a weekly as well, actually, putting in higher highs and higher lows and consolidating in a sideways band over a year and a half. So little bit of a different scenario, but I did want to point that out. So as you guys can see, obviously, if we have a look right here, we still are looking at this $52,000 level, and I showed you if we were to break out from this head and shoulders pattern right here, that would put us, like I said, somewhere up here around 57. But the thing is, we still do have the CME futures gap down here, which I still do believe that on a short-term time basis, I do believe we could still go down to $40,070. Actually $40,700. So we might even go down to 39 or something crazy like that. But personally, I don't think we're going to lose this structure. This structure, just keep in mind, okay, time in the markets is better than trying to time the markets. Look how long the markets have been building this structure. Ever since we had this support on January of 2021, that was over a year ago, we've had this bounce, multiple bounces, okay? 4 or 5 bounces in here, okay? And we also had the capitulation wick bounce right there. This is structure. This is being built. There would be no purpose in having this happen for, a year straight just to then dump it. It would just make it would be completely illogical. I mean, unless smart money has some master plan to just absolutely wreck everyone, it just wouldn't make any sense at all. The thing that I'm most concerned about is not so much these fractals, but I do want to see us get back above this EMA ribbon, because as I've shown you in the past, whenever we're above this ribbon, we tend to stay above it for a very long time, months to even a year. And whenever we fall below it, like we did back here, which also shows you something a little bit completely different about the fractal, because this fractal that we had back here, we were actually below the band. We were sitting literally below the band, whereas if we look at where we are right now, the top of the fractal actually would have been above that band. So it's a very different structure. But like I said, guys, key level to get above is 46,600. I think if we can get above that level, put some nice support on the band here, maybe go up to that 50K level, come back down, retest it. And then, of course, we're going to have the band curving up, something like this. And then I do believe we will continue to the upside. And it still is possible. I'm not saying it's impossible. I know people don't think it's possible, but I still think it is, that we could see $150,000 to $200,000 Bitcoin by the end of this year. And I know you think that's crazy, but look, guys, look at how long Bitcoin just consolidates sideways, just keeps going sideways, right? And then boom, massive blast off. So what do you think that this looks like? If we actually make this smaller and we look at this, what do you think this is right here? This is consolidation. This is a year of consolidation. Same thing like we had down here, and then boom, massive blast off. Consolidation, massive blast off. And when these moves happen, they happen very quick. Most people are not expecting them. And a lot of people get left behind because they don't own any Bitcoin because they're waiting for cheaper prices, right? Which, I had a bid down at 28,000, 29,000 that never got filled. But, hey, just in case, right? Just in case I have it there. But I also have a very large hodl position. So I am happy with my amount of Bitcoin that I have currently. But like Crypto 5 Max pointed out, if you actually have a look at these capitulations, generally when you have a faster capitulation, you have a faster recovery. When you have a slower capitulation, you have a slower recovery. Hence why we had these 2 months down here, where we accumulated. But the interesting thing to point out is these bearish divergences, and they usually lead into these levels where then we have essentially a very large spring back where Bitcoin does start to move. And you could see the beginnings of these levels as he's pointed out. And it does appear that we're putting in something very similar like we've seen in the past. Now, let's talk about this situation that's happening globally. So if Russia invites Bitcoin adoption, the global arms race will begin. Now, we will get into how this could affect the US, but we have the Russian ministry reportedly considering energy tariffs for Bitcoin miners, as well as taxing cryptocurrency to ruble conversions, as long as said facilities are constructed in a particular region. So they don't want Bitcoin miners popping up just anywhere. It has to be in a specific region that has been approved. So this places pressure on Western powers. The US, the UK, and the European Union have been slow to make concrete decisions on Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining facilitation. Now, the US and its allies are effectively backed into a series of corners. Can the US attempt to ban Bitcoin and its transactions? It can try, but it will fail. China has already tried to do so multiple times, and the same goes for India. Not to mention, the US now has a multitude of politicians advocating for Bitcoin adoption. For example, we have US Senator Cynthia Lummis and state governors as well showing political support for Bitcoin and the entire Bitcoin network as a whole. On top of that, there's a massive inflow of network hash rate that came to the US shores after China banned Bitcoin mining. And going even further, there's the consideration that the FDIC has been looking into providing support for American banks to hold Bitcoin on their balance sheets. Now, we know how the US is, right? The US has a big ego. The US wants to be number one. They don't like being left behind. And if Russia does go through with this and they do start to have this adoption of Bitcoin mining as far as the taxation of it, okay, they are going to start to potentially lead the race, and the US isn't going to like this. Now, if you don't think that it's already happening in the background, let me just point out something that happened just today. Colorado came out and said that they are willing to accept Bitcoin for taxes and tax purposes, and this could happen as soon as the summer. And if you don't believe me, check this clip out right now.
So it's important that people know from a state perspective, we cannot be in the business of having exposure to a market where securities, including cryptocurrencies, fluctuate. Our expenses are in dollars, still, I would add, you never know what the future brings, but all of our expenses are in dollars. Our budget approved by the legislatures in dollars. So when we talk about accepting crypto for payments, they would be converted back into dollars for our purposes. So there'd be an intermediary there that would then convert them for our purposes back to dollars. But from an external facing portal, we expect by this summer, pretty soon, to accept crypto for all of our state tax related purposes And then we plan to roll that out across all of state government for things like could be as simple as driver's license or hunting license, within a few months after that. But the biggest set of transactions are the taxes that people pay, and we expect to accept crypto by this summer.
Now that's mostly speaking about Bitcoin and potentially a handful of other cryptocurrencies, but we know that the crypto space, the blockchain space, is even bigger than just Bitcoin and just cryptos alone. We also have the metaverse, we have DeFi, we have NFTs, and a lot of people are on the fence about NFTs. Some hate them, some love them, some people don't know what to think, but on February 10th, the New York Stock Exchange filed a trademark to register NYSE for goods and services surrounding metaverse-related technologies like augmented reality and mixed reality software, alongside various iterations of cryptocurrencies, tokens, digital assets, and NFTs. The patent also includes provision of an online marketplace for buyers, sellers, and traders of downloadable digital goods authenticated by non-fungible tokens. The filing outlines the launch of virtual stores and virtual showrooms as well. So if you guys think that NFTs are not here to stay, I don't deny that some of this is a bubble. I think the days of people paying millions of dollars for pictures of dogs and monkeys may not last forever. But inevitably, I do believe that the underlying technology behind NFTs will be here to stay. And the fact that you're seeing that, they're essentially having patent filings for NFTs on the New York Stock Exchange, I think you can definitely see that the US is slowly beginning to ramp up this crypto adoption, and they definitely don't want to be left behind to somebody like Russia. So I think it's only inevitable at some point, probably even on a federal level, where we're going to see Bitcoin most likely, I would say, put on the balance sheet at some point in the US. And I think that would be the major tipping point. And when that happens, I definitely feel bad for anyone who isn't holding some Bitcoin. But that being said, guys, if that's not enough to convince you, Ryan Reynolds has recently come out and spoke a little bit about cryptocurrencies as well.
Do you own any crypto now?
I don't really want to comment on that, but I do see the value in the conversation that we're having right now. I think companies are doing a good job of bringing it into a sort of a safer, more mainstream light. I mean, 90% of the word crypto is crypt. So, I see why certain folks who might be put off it or intimidated by it, but I think it's emerging as a huge player. I mean, it's been emerging for a long time as a huge player. So I'm not super surprised.
All right. Well, enough about the celebrity talk. One other thing I want to end on before we get out of here is the Bulgaria Stock Exchange has listed Bitcoin and Ethereum ETNs. Now, the initiative does not allow traders to purchase cryptocurrencies directly. Instead, they will be able to invest in ETCs or ETNs, which will grant exposure. So this is not as big of news as yesterday's news. This is not physically settled, but it does still give them exposure. However, in addition to this, the finance minister, Arsen Vasilev, stated that the nation is exploring options for rolling out a crypto payment mechanism. So this is a lot of big news. So China, they're being kind of weird. India, they're being India's always kind of weird about crypto. But for the most part, we have had nothing but generally bullish news for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And I do think that a lot of this price action that we're seeing right now is essentially just noise. I do believe that this is a massive accumulation level for Bitcoin. We've been ranging in here for 2 years. Even though, yes, we are at the bottom, we are still, as I said, putting in higher lows, putting in higher highs, and we're seeing a lot of positive crypto adoption globally. So with that being said, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos in the first place. Remember, if you are looking to trade, be careful. I do have a lot of different tutorials that go over A through Z, beginner to expert, how to trade profitably and responsibly. And if you are interested in the $8,000 bonus, check that out below. 50% bonus if you're using Prime XBT, and make sure that you check out these tutorials popping up right here, right now. Until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.